Hey gang, it's Rob. I wanted to give you some information, and all of this again, I'm going to share video and also written, so you'll have plenty of information to help you lead your upcoming Croatia trip. It's a super fun trip. You'll love it. Cruises start in either Dubrovnik, and we have a few that start in Split. So not a huge issue regardless of this information. I'm just going to go through step by step on my computer. It's the same information you're going to get in written format, and then I'll elaborate a little bit more on each thing. First of all, before and during the trip, we always communicate with our guests via WhatsApp chat. So you'll know usually 2 months, 3 months in advance, we start getting the communication level up so guests can talk to each other, share tips on how to get to their, whether it be Dubrovnik or Split, where they're staying, restaurants, all that stuff is very useful for WhatsApp. So it's very valuable. I'm going to read verbatim here. Ambassador Cruises, they are the ones who charter our boats. They will send you a document, and that document has all of the 1 hour walk and tour guides, phone, WhatsApp contacts. So usually the night before, like I said, if we know we have a tour of 1 hour walk and tour of Dubrovnik, we'll have 2 guides. I'll reach out to both guides the night before and introduce myself and say, hey, just want to let you know, looking forward to meeting you tomorrow. We have 36 people. In Dubrovnik and Split, we actually have 2 walk-in tours, 2 guides for the walk-in tours. Because they're such heavily dense, well-traveled places, I don't want to walk around with 36 people there. So we split the group up in, 18 and 18, and they all get headsets. So these headsets are given out on the day, actually your second day. I don't do this the night of the meet and greet because people are drinking and having a good time. So that first morning when you're starting your trip to Dubrovnik, or if you're starting in Split, you'll divvy out all of these headsets, and these headsets are for each guest has them for the entire week. So whenever you'll collect them on the last day of the walk-in tour. So make sure guests know this. You also have a couple of microphones. Those are given to the actual guides. So when the guides talk into the microphone, half the group will be on channel 2, and the other half of the group will be on channel 1, and they'll split up, and this way people can walk around and take photos and still get a little bit of the history. The walking tours are really interesting, and they make the buildings come alive. Otherwise, you're just looking at things and you're just looking at buildings. When you have a story behind them, it's really interesting. So really encourage everyone to take part. But again, also let them know it's their vacation holiday. If they would want to simply just go and skip it one day, it's their right to do so. They've already paid for everything. So, but we find that most of the walk-in tours, especially in Croatia, the lady who does that tour is phenomenal. So again, you'll have 2 guides in Dubrovnik and Split, and the rest of the guides in Troger and Korčula and Hvar will use just 1 guide. They're not as crowded there. So a little bit about the meet and greet on the first night. You'll have a meet and greet. It's an open bar. It starts at 7 to 11 p.m. I'll back up just slightly. The day of your cruise, it starts on a Saturday. People can come and drop their bags off at 10, 11 in the morning. Usually we can say 11 o'clock. That boat is preparing for our departure, so we don't want a lot of overcrowding. So we tell people to drop off your bags, have a little piece of paper, or some tape and a marker, and have guests just write their cabin number. They'll know what their cabin is beforehand. Write it on the bag, the piece of tape on the bag, and then the crew, when their room is done, they'll just put their bags in their room for them. Well, guests can return around 3 p.m. that day, Saturday of the cruise. So around 6:30, people are having, getting ready, coming down and congregating around the dining area and up on the top deck. At around 6:30, we're going to do a crew briefing, and what this is basically, the ship's captain will give you a piece of paper. You read it. You can actually get the guest involved in this if you want. They can, basically how to don a life vest, read everything on there. It takes maybe 5 minutes for this whole process. And then you're going to introduce the crew to everyone. So you'll get a list of actually all the crew members beforehand. I even actually write them on the whiteboard. The whiteboard is found to the left of the dining room. It is your tool every day that at 5 p.m. I write what we're doing for the next day. So, breakfast 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. 9:30 to 11:30 or 10:30 walk-in tour of Dubrovnik. Just use that whiteboard every day to communicate every single thing that needs to be on there. Swim stop at 2 o'clock. And you'll have this all in an itinerary, the detailed itinerary, and also communicate with the captain and make sure that the swim stops are going on as scheduled. You'll hold on a sec here. Let me make sure I didn't skip anything. So around 6:37, we'll do the little demo, and then at 7 p.m. They'll start inviting guests in. And again, at that point, from 7 to 11, there is an open bar. Anything they want up until that time. So guests are having a good time. Around 7:30 or so, depending on what the chef tells you, they'll start serving, salads, appetizers, and usually around dinner get started. After dinner is kind of slowing off a little bit. I like to go to each table and have every single person get up, introduce themselves to the group, tell them just a little bit about themselves, something unique, if they've been on a previous happy tour before. Again, maybe takes 1 or 2 minutes, and then go on to the next person. So that kind of helps people. You'll also have name tags at the beginning of the meet and greet. I have sitting out there. You need to bring these yourself. Just go to Office Depot. I'll reimburse you for it. Bring a black felt marker and write everyone's name, or have them write it when they were checking in. Say, hey, there's some paper there. Put a guest tag on, and so people can actually get that visual connection. And also they'll have a story for these people too when they tell them a little bit of something interesting about them. So that night, everyone's having a good time, getting to know each other. And you'll also, before you go to bed, take a snapshot with your camera of the whiteboard and send it on the WhatsApp chat, and have everything all the time so people can refer to that as well. So they have another backup. They have their phone and they also have the whiteboard. Let's see here. I talked a little bit about the headsets. Again, these are, once you give them out that first day of the tour, they're with the guests. They keep them the whole time. You'll collect them on the last day. Let's see here. I've talked a little bit about the meet and greet. Just going over this. I've typed some stuff down here. So breakfast starts at usually 7 a.m. every day, ends at 9. It's buffet style, so you can come and go what you want. It doesn't matter if you start up at 8 o'clock, 8:30, or even wake up for breakfast. For lunches and dinners, whatever the posted time is, whatever the chef tells you, hey, it's 6:30, 7, all of the group has to dine together. This is very important. So they're flexible on breakfast, buffet, but lunches, they usually have a salad out there, some cold cuts, and it's usually a 3 or 4 course meal at lunch as well. Very filling. I think we'll have one dinner the first night. We'll have another dinner usually on the second night, and then we'll have another dinner on board for the captain's dinner. I want to talk a couple about some tours. The Blue Cave tour. You'll have a voucher. Again, in your little bag in your room, you'll receive a voucher, a voucher. It's an envelope. You'll have vouchers for the Blue Cave. Actually, I reversed that. You'll have the vouchers for the Mijet Island. That's the day that it's a national park. You'll have vouchers for each one of the guides. Most of the time, the guides won't ever even ask for the voucher because they just bill Ambassador Cruises. But I always hand them. They can do what they want with it. So in that packet, I was talking about the Blue Cave. You don't need a voucher for the Blue Cave. The boat will pull to the dock. Every single person gets off, have their sunscreen, maybe even bring their bathing suits. You're not swimming in the Blue Cave, but you sometimes have to wait an hour or two before you get your turn to board the little boats inside the cave. So, have people bring, because our boat pulls back out at that point. Our little boats go inside it. When weather conditions have to be great, they can't be windy. The captain usually knows this in advance, and if they're saying that it's closed, they'll just let you know that they're not taking people into the Blue Cave, and that tour will be canceled. So if it does go on as scheduled, they you get your tickets, and they give you a waiting time at the dock and say, okay, be back, have your group show up in 1 hour or 1.5 hours. Whatever the time is, they'll have it on a board where everyone sees, okay, we have an hour and a half. So people usually go on a hike. There's a little restaurants around there. You can roam around, not much to do. And then once you tell everyone to be back, let's say at 11 a.m., they come back to the dock meeting point. Then you board your boat. After you enter and exit, the whole process is probably 10 minutes. You're on that particular Blue Cave tour. When you exit the cave, they take you directly back to our boat, so not to the same spot. So make sure no one leaves anything on the dock, because after the tour concludes, everything is brought back to the boat, including you. Again, on rare occasions, it's happened maybe 2 times out of 16, 17 cruises we've had where the captain says we can't go into port until 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. or they have to deviate because there's overcrowding or there's a strike going on, so they have to now reroute. Telmo will always relay the information to you, and at that point you can walk around, tell people, or there is a microphone. The microphone is behind the bartender there, and tell them you need to make announcements, and those announcements go to all the cabins. So if there's anything important that you need to inform people, you do use the microphone, and then all those announcements are shared with all the cabins. So that was the Blue Cave tour. Another one that I always like to talk about is the Mijet Island. That's the day where guests can rent a bike or a kayak, or just simply stroll around and go hiking around this beautiful lake. As soon as you get off the boat, you usually go out and take a left and walk about 10 minutes, and you find the ticket office. You'll hand them the voucher. They'll give you 36. I always have all the guests follow me there. If you can't find it, or if you have questions, Tomo or one of the ship's crew can take you there, but it's not a huge deal. You exit the boat, usually take a left, walk straight down that road, and just look for the Mijet National Park ticket office. You hand them the voucher, they print out 36 tickets, you hand them all out to everyone, and then right around the corner, maybe 10, 15 yards, there's, to the right, there's the area where guests will go and walk down the little wooden path. About 10 to 15 minutes. When it dead ends to the lake, you take a left, walk another 10 minutes, and then you'll see the rental office. It has all the bikes, all the boats. They only take euro, so no credit cards. So I always tell guests, just bring 30 euro with you. I think bikes for 2.5 hours, 2 hours, run around probably 20 euro. The price changes occasionally, so have everyone. You'll have a packed lunch, by the way, for that particular tour for the boat. So it's a great day to have a picnic. If you don't want to take your picnic or bring anything, there's restaurants all around there. In fact, there's a beautiful little island that has a little stone, little castle that has a restaurant, and you can get beer, and your ticket includes 1 free boat ride round trip there and back. So you can even ride your bike around. You can go swimming. Encourage guests to bring their swimming suits. Of course, there's sunscreens and hats for this particular day. It's a fun day. Let's see. Oh, for that particular cruise, we really need to have everyone out, because there's a ferry that comes around 3 o'clock every day. So whatever the captain tells you to be back, let's just say if it's 3 p.m. they're departing, have all the guests return by 2 p.m. When the guests get back on the cabin, when they get back on the boat, have them write their cabin number. You maybe have 1 through 18 the rooms, and just have mark a little X on it so you know everyone's back. But that's the one in the past that's always been kind of a pain in the butt when people have gotten on. They always forget to, oh, we got to leave at 2:30 or 3. No, it's we back at 2, we leave at 3. So make sure, again, you communicate that they have to be on the boat at the exact same time that we request them on that day, because there is a 3 p.m. ferry usually comes and we have to be off. For the ship's captain's dinner, it's not really a captain's dinner per se. It's a celebration. Usually if you're starting in Split, we actually do that on day 2. Those of you starting in Dubrovnik, it's the Thursday before the cruise ends. But we have a band. It's a great, Magic Wish is a phenomenal band. Make sure everyone sticks around for that, because they put on a show like it's unreal. Dancing, and they kind of start off slow as people are eating, and then once the meals are done, the music gets livelier and people are dancing, and they play a mix of 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and some local music as well, but it's quite fun. I always tell people, as far as tipping goes as well, these people rely on tips. We require at the end of the trip $100, it's €100 per person. So 200 euros per cabin. The second to the last night of the cruise, they put envelopes in the room with a little note. I always have the guests bring me this on Friday. Just bring it to the breakfast. And since it's our last day, and usually Friday nights we eat out, this is our way of having all the crew come out and saying goodbye. I make sure as the ship's coordinator, I make sure everyone hands me the envelope. It has €200 in it, and we all give a special thanks and a clap for the chef, the bartender, the ship's staff. This goes directly to them. So they, I would encourage everyone. I always double check everyone puts their €100 in, because we've never had an issue with it. People feel like they get a lot of value. If you feel, and tell your guests, if you thought someone did an over the top job, the bartender was especially, tip them daily, or even tip them, hand them an extra tip directly to them. So again, pitch your €100, that takes care of everyone. But if you felt someone went above and beyond, then give them a 100, whatever it is, an extra tip. They always appreciate it. People ask me about laundry. If you ask the maid and say, listen, I need a couple things washed, and give them a tip, more than likely they will do it. So that's always good. And then, drinking on board. Bring your own what you want to drink. You're not supposed to. If you visit the bar occasionally on this trip, tell the guests that, they're not digging through your bags and saying, oh, look, they have alcohol. But don't drink it right out in front of the bartender or on top of the deck. Put it in a cup. Conceal it, and visit the bar, and just, do an honest job of visiting, and you'll be fine. So anyway, all of this is written down. I just went ahead and just put this video together, because sometimes I find maybe it's just easier just watching a picture of me sitting in my bedroom giving you information. But all of this is written down. Communication is the key. On the last day that you leave, you need to collect those headsets. After the last tour, whether your last walk-in tour is in Dubrovnik or Split, you need to designate, because you'll be in 2 different groups on those, someone to collect those, and just put them back in the box. I always take the headphones out and just put the yellow ones in there. I think they recycle the actual headphones too for the ears. Make sure everyone closes their bar tab out. That last day, you just keep on reminding people, hey, you need to close out your bar tabs. And make sure you remind guests that as well. If there's any issues, obviously you have my number, or again, your communication on once there is Tomo. He's fantastic, speaks English. Sometimes his father's there. He doesn't speak as good English. He's the older gentleman, but Tomo is the one who's the captain and waiting. And this year he's scheduled to take over his father's job. So anyway, more than likely you'll do with Tomo. And again, this is a family adventure for them. This is probably fourth, fifth generation of them all being ship hands and owning boats. So they're really good people. Anything else you need, let me know. I hope this video helps. I wanted to do 10-15 minutes, and it's 20 minutes, so that's way too long. So refer to the document and enjoy the trip and communicate with me if needed. Take care.